Welcome to the May 25th OpenJ9 community call. As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees just so we know who's been joining the calls. It helps us get to know you. All right, and so we have our usual agenda for today. One of the first things we're going to kick it off with is a lightning talk from Mesbah in part of this ongoing series we have on the test-related tools. So a big thank you to Mesbah for stepping up with that. And I'll just pause here for a minute before we do that to give people a chance to add anything else they want to the agenda. So if something else does come up, feel free to jump in along the way, and otherwise add it to the any other business section. Mesbah, are you ready to kick off the lightning talk?
Hi, Dan. Yes, I am. I'm just looking for the button to press to share my screen on BlueJeans desktop.
Should be the screen-looking button in the top center of the application. There's your camera, there's a microphone, and then there's the Bagley screen shaped.
Okay. I have to allow it.
I suspect Mesbah's had to exit.
Yeah, I think you have to if you want to press allow for this.
Let's wait for a minute or two and let him join back in.
Yeah, I just want to say, sorry. I just want to say that next week, Longyu is going to talk about how to reproduce a particular test failures on specific machine. So that's all on that. Mesbah joined.
Mesbah, are you ready to screen share now? So Mesbah, we can see your screen, but we can't hear you.
You're muted, I think, Mesbah.
Can you see the screen and hear me now?
We can hear you now, but we can no longer see your screen.
Okay, can you hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. It's the BlueJeans thing, and I had to restart. Sorry. So quickly jumping into the topic. So our topic today is a lightning talk on system custom. So basically, as a developer, I want to be able to reproduce a system test failure using system custom, and I'm going to quickly show the time-based example and iteration-based example for those two. The point where I wanted to start was so basically, we have a wiki page under Aqua System Test. If you go under wiki and click here, how to run a grinder on Jenkins, scroll all the way to the bottom, we're going to see basically what I want to present has been documented over here. So basically, this shows you some example on how to run system custom. The two examples I wanted to show was how to run a system test using your own customized configuration. So basically, quickly taking a look at the playlist for system tests. So they're mostly turned into time-based tests. So for example, class routing test, if you copy this target and run it in a conventional way into a grinder, it's going to run the 5-minute based version. But you may not want to run it in a debug scenario. So in a debug scenario, what you would do is just copy this portion of the command line that has the class name and the parameters, and basically paste it under. We have a field called custom target. We just paste it over here. And for target, we specify system custom. And the build list, of course, has to be system, otherwise system test won't build. And in here, we can basically specify whatever we want. So for example, if you want to run it for a lesser amount of time, so basically, I have an example where I ran it for 1 minute, and that would just simply run the test for 1 minute, and you can actually get rid of it and run it in an iteration based. So just quickly taking a look at the results over here. So I specified a 1 minute runtime for this build, which is by default 5 minutes. And if we see the results, it would show that it just basically finished the test after 1 minute. And a second example I have was how to run these tests using iteration-based instead of time-based. So by default, these tests would run for in a time-based manner. But if you so for example, by time-based, it means basically it has a time limit specified. But in the system custom target, if we get rid of the time and just simply specify the name of the test, it's going to run it using iteration based, meaning it's going to not care about how long a particular run takes. It's simply going to run it and complete the whole load, whatever load was associated with that particular test. So that's how we run it using iteration based. And back to the documentation. So it actually gives us some more examples on how we can play around with different parameters. So basically, we have different tests that take different kind of parameters. It can take one or multiple parameters, and we can pass as many parameters as we want in the custom target. So it's completely flexible. And of course, for debugging purposes, if we want to specify extra options, we can use the extra options parameters to pass in the values over here as well. So that's very quickly how to run system custom. Is there any question? If there's not any question, I would hand it over to Dan again.
I didn't have a question, but I'll just add the comment that this is, you added the system custom target for two main reasons. One being that then it's allowing a developer to, if there is a defect or a failure reporting against one of the system tests, it allows for flexibility in how to rerun it. So it might be that running it for longer shows or reveals the same failure, or changing it to run with different options being tuned. So this is kind of mimicking. We have a JDK custom target, and for each group of tests there, we have the notion of these custom targets, which lets you take a test from that group and run it with varying some of the options. So before, if you wanted to be able to do this, you'd have to take a branch of the test repo, make a change to the playlist in order to accomplish this. So this is a way to speed up the workflow for developers. So thanks for the lightning talk, Mesbah.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. I just want to add there, Mesbah, if you go to Grindr, so we do have a wiki link at any job. So if you go to Grindr, if you click on your just 684, just the job number, right? And then there is a wiki link, just in case if you forget where to go. There's a Grindr wiki under the rerun link. So you can just click on the link that will lead you to the Grindr wiki page that Mesbah just showed. No, it's under the rerun link.
Just above the build artifacts.
Yeah.
And slightly down.
Grindr wiki. Right, that's a link that you can just click.
All right. Yeah, what I do is just simply go here and yeah, that's perfect. Cool. Yeah, and this wiki is very useful. It actually has all kind of different ways we can use the grinder.
Thanks, Mesbah. And as always, you guys, if you have any feedback or questions, you can reach us at the Slack channel. Thanks.
I'll stop sharing. And sorry about the delay at the beginning.
Worries. All right, thanks, Mesbah. So we'll switch back to the agenda then. Just take a quick look at the new user raised issues then. And I see that there are 2 that have come in from the last couple of days. One looking at configuration issues. And Dimitri, you're engaged, so it's great. Another GC question, and again, engaged. Perfect. So it looks like everything's getting some level of discussion. If there is something in this list that somebody feels needs further conversation on this call or some additional focus, please do call it out. Switch back to the agenda. And I think just in the interest of time today, we'll skip looking at the dashboard, though there are some questions here about whether the dashboard will continue to exist after the Adoptium move, and if it'll track marketplace downloads as well. Shelley, do you know?
I don't know for sure because I think that would mean integrating the marketplace download feature is still being talked about how that mechanism is going to work. So I think it's just going to be a redirect to vendor APIs, in which case I'm not sure what is possible in terms of tracking. But yeah, I'll see if I can get a better answer for an upcoming meeting here.
Okay. Thanks, Shelley. Pete, there was a question about rerunning the extended OpenJDK testing. Just continuing to follow up. Have you had a chance to validate that yet?
Not yet. We've been concentrating on bringing up the new Jenkins.
Yeah, I assumed as much, but.
Yeah, and according to Simon this morning, he thinks he's gotten extended OpenJDK to run green now. He's gone through and raised issues and fixed things, and it's looking pretty green for OpenJ9.
Yeah, we'll have to try them on the OpenJ9 machines and see if we can duplicate that.
Yep.
Then the next thing coming up is our 0.27 release with a code split on June the 6th. So that is coming up very quickly for us. Take a look at this milestone plan. We see that we still have 103 open items. So just a request again that especially owners of particular areas go through this list, see if they can either close out or move out anything that doesn't need to be completed in this milestone. I suspect there's a number of things in here that should be moved out again, and so we should do the work on that to get this cleaned up into a state that we're ready for that code split. Babneet, is there an update on the OpenJDK method handles?
Hey Dan, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I think the update is about the perf results. I've added a link in the box document which points to the issue which will contain the perf results. I've added a few results. I was told the JIT team will need more time because I think they are trying out few optimizations which will give more better results. And in terms of functional issues, I think there's one unassigned issue. Other than that, all other issues are being attended by members.
Okay, so on the basis of what you're saying, it sounds like we're good or likely to make the code split then for the functional issues. There's some risk around the performance.
There does seem little risk because I think we will be very close to the cutoff date if we were to enable OpenJDK method handles. So I think we will have to reevaluate close to the cutoff date whether we want to enable OpenJDK method handles or not.
And what do you consider to be the cutoff date?
I was told it was going to be June 7th, or the Sunday before June 7th.
Okay, so that you're talking about when we split.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we'll need to have a good view of what the performance is. Point that we're looking to make this switch.
And I think this sums up my update for today. Back to you, Dan.
Jack, I see you've added in the Project Loom update here. I'm going to move it down to where we have it later in the agenda. So we will get there. We'll just take a little bit to get there.
Sure, no problem.
Is there anything else on the 0.27 release that we need to call out now? Then we also have the 0.28 release coming up. We haven't set dates for that yet. We have a little bit of time there, but it is something to be thinking about as we see the list of JEPs for Java 17 continue to grow.
Well, the one interesting thing is that June 10th is the date we get a JDK 17 repo.
Peter. In terms of general updates, Shelley, do we have an update on the Adoptium project?
Nothing really interesting to report here. I'll update the minutes, but today was milestone 1 of trying to get a JDK 8 hotspot build of Temurin ready. We have a Mac build that is now notarized and ready to be tested, but there's a lot of cleanup to do. So I think we're essentially missed the May 26th deadline for that milestone. Originally in that milestone, we also had TCK in plan, but since there's no signature and therefore no TCK material, that is pushed out to milestone 2. If anyone wants to keep track of these milestones of Temurin builds, they're tracked at the Adoptium repo, and I'll add a link into these minutes for it. Aside from that, someone had asked me offline, are we still intending to build and test OpenJ9 at Adoptium? Absolutely, that's still part of the Aquavit plan. We will probably go through a bit of churn as we're being asked to update a lot of things, and there's a lot of things being changed in order for us to secure that signature from the company that shall not be named. So in interim between now and July, I think there'll be some ups and downs and some challenges to keep a bunch of things running. But I have stated clearly and gotten confirmation from everybody who should have a say in this that the plan to continue with that for Aquavit is a go, and it includes also other non-Temurin builds like Dragonwell and Bishing and possibly the Microsoft and Azul pieces. So just to confirm that that plan hasn't changed. And that's all.
Thanks, Shelley. Adam, do you have an update on the machines?
Yeah. So the UP16 upgrades are sort of half done. We'll have to coordinate some downtime for the UNB stuff. So that was kind of put on pause because of the Jenkins rollout. So as everybody should be aware, we migrated to a new Jenkins instance. There's a few small issues with it. So we use GitHub authentication for logging in now instead of your Eclipse account. And there's an issue adding GitHub Teams to that. So I'm going to have to add everybody manually as a workaround unless I can figure it out. So right now, not many people have access to actually stop builds and do things like that on the UI. So I'll resolve that shortly. The PR trigger should be working though. And there's another issue with the webhooks that fire off the openjdk acceptance builds from the extensions repos. So I have to figure that out still. And then as we sort of ran into, there's an issue with the UNB VPN because we share the machines with the Omar farm. And we only have one VPN account, so we have it on a sort of a shared box, and the Jenkinses hop through that box to get to the UNB nodes. So when we move the VPN for the new Jenkins, we sort of screwed over Omar, so we had to move it back, and I'm going to have to come up with a solution for that. Those are the three main things right now.
Does the VPN have to be moved?
The idea was that we'd install the VPN on the new master so that we wouldn't have to do the hopping business anymore, just to make things a little bit cleaner and more stable. The issue was, so I did have a workaround so that the Omar ones would hop through our master temporarily, but it seemed to be causing the machine connections to be too unstable, so we moved it back to where it was before for now. So we're going to try and get a second VPN account to put onto a different machine. Because we also want developers to be able to hop through for access when needed, and we don't necessarily want them hopping through our master just for safety purposes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's it with that. Unless there's questions, the Artifactory disk usage has gone up slightly more than normal. I suspect it might be because of the migration, possibly because of because the build numbers have reset. But I'm not too concerned at this point. Not enough to look at it, anyways. So, that's it. Unless there's questions.
No, just a big thank you for all the work you've done on rolling out the new Jenkins. That's been very fast turnaround and very much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully it wasn't too much pain for people. We did get a nice URL for the new Jenkins, and we also have one lined up for the existing Artifactory, which is sort of less impact to developers, but that one will be, I think it's OpenJ9-Artifactory, so I'll probably have that one going in the next day or two. A little bit cleaner URLs.
Adam?
And then once we shut down the Eclipse Jenkins, we should be able to remove the account passwords from the Artifactory instance and have those wide open again, which will help for developers, for grinders and things like that.
Sounds good. Devin, do we have an update on the CMake migration? See Devin on the call today, so follow up on that next week. We don't see Marius, so I assume we don't have an update on JIT server either. And I'm not sure about the next microJIT meeting as well, so skip those as well. terms of snapshot restore, it continues to be a focus on Linux's CRIU at the moment. This collaboration around forming a common lifecycle API. There have been some issues that have been created with some status there, but there's been sort of slow progress there. Jack, do you have an update on Loom?
Yep. So currently I am working off the early access build, the JCL level that is released by openjdk for Loom. All the stubs have been implemented, have been written such that with the project Loom integrated into the JDK, it will still compile and fine. Right now I am working on creating the entry point for the native vthread, which will be created using our J9 VM thread, and working on getting it being able to be placed on top of the existing thread so that we can transition from the carrier thread operation to the virtual thread operation. I am still working on making sure that the transition was actually correct. There seem to be some issues that I'm not fully addressing during the different thread stack swap. And I'll be providing a more update next week on progress for that.
Thanks, Jack. In terms of Panama, Cheng, do you have an update? Cheng, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Sometimes, okay.
Can you hear me, Dan?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, cool. I think it's pressed the wrong number. Okay. Currently we already finished the code review for phase 1 and move forward to phase 2 and 3, and we still have 11 issues Windows. We are still investigating the problem out there. Probably still need to take a little bit of work, and yeah, not too much update out there.
Thanks, Cheng.
Okay, thank you.
And Babneet, do you have an update on the foreign memory access API?
I think there's no new update. We're just looking for someone to implement it. So it's still unassigned.
Thanks, Babneet. We talked about the Artifactory and the Jenkins already, so I can remove this. And Babneet, we had talked about the Lightning talks, and I think the conclusion we came to was that it did not need further editing, correct?
Correct. I think we can just provide a timestamp from where the Lightning talk begins, and that should do the same. It should do the same thing that we were trying to do with editing. So we found an alternative, which was easier to implement.
Sounds good. All right, then is there any other business for today? All right, on that basis, let's call the meeting then. Thank you, everyone, and we'll convene again on June the 1st.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.